in reading this book about honesty from Brad Blanton, it got me to thinking quite a bit about resentment, because he talks about healing from feelings of anger. And one of the ways to do that in this totally radical honesty approach is basically to go to people in your life who you have had relationships with in the past, who you have resentments against, and basically start your sentences with them after you agree to meet with them or they agree to meet with you with, "I resent you for." And you don't say, you specifically say that because the feelings that you have are basically resentment toward that other person, specific to something that they've done or said, or ways that they acted, or things that they did, or whatever. And so instead of masking the resentment, instead of making excuses or trying to sugarcoat it or whatever, you basically tell them, "I resent you for whatever it is." And by doing that, you are essentially being very honest with them about how you feel, because the underlying anger, or maybe it's not underlying, maybe it's the feelings of anger that even have been expressed, maybe, or maybe you've suppressed those feelings, but they are feelings that end up causing resentment within you. And so you may have resentment against an ex-lover or an ex-spouse or a friend or business partner or ex-business partner, or maybe a mother or father or son or daughter, an adult, hopefully. But these feelings of resentment can come up, and sometimes they're even, when you start to express them, they lead to other feelings of resentment. And so you can resent somebody about something, and then you find that not only do you resent that person, but there's some other connected resentment associated with it. And he gives an example, Brad Blanton does, of you may feel resentment when your wife, for example, tells you or tries to remind you, "Hey, did you buy my mother a birthday present?" And you may feel resentment towards your wife for, again, reminding you that to buy a present. And really you feel like, man, I don't even want to go visit her, much less spend time at a birthday party with her. And so you have feeling resentment that your wife has reminded you again about this birthday present. You resent the fact that you have to buy a birthday present. You resent the store clerk for recommending what present you should get for your mother-in-law. You resent the gift itself. You resent the money that you have to resent, having to pay money for that present. You resent, you may resent other people and the way they respond to you. You resent your mother-in-law for actually having a birthday that then you have to go and present a birthday present for. You may resent other people in the family that are going to be at the birthday party because you don't like talking to them. Anyway, there's all these other little resentments that come up, or they may be big resentments, but they're things that are attached to the initial resentment that you felt. And the way Brad talks about dealing with this is to actually go through all of those resentments in the moment as they come up when you're speaking to the person. For example, you may go to your wife and say, "I resent you for telling me multiple times that I need to get your mother a birthday present." And of course, that's going to bring her feelings out, and she's going to bring to you what her resentments are. And that's the way to open the dialogue, is to just be open with a person and saying, look, I want to talk to you about how I feel, and I want you to be open and honest with me with how you feel. And I'm going to start, and here's how it's going to go. I'm going to tell you what I resent about you, and you tell me what you resent about me. And then you go through this process. And the process, I haven't tried it myself, but the idea of the process is that it opens the communication and makes you let go of all those resentment feelings. And you're not finished until you finally get to the point where you go, ah, now I feel so much better. And both of you should feel so much better after going through this process. And then he says what's interesting is he also explains how after that, you may both retreat for a while, because you do not, after you've been so vulnerable and open and you feel good that you have released that now that vulnerability and that openness makes you retract and retreat into yourself for a while to really, I guess, process what you've just done and maybe try to cover over it or protect yourself from it for a while, until you get to a point where you can actually come back and talk to that person. Then when the next time you talk to them, you might say something, you know, trivial like, well, I'm really glad we had that talk, and we're able to get that past us, or get past that, or get that off my chest, or whatever. But the likelihood is that you won't touch it again, that you won't go into any of the feelings about that, just because it feels like you don't really want to touch it now anymore, and like it's done. But that also, that doing this and making it a practice where you do it over and over again with the people in your life, that you can begin to really get close to those people and feel the vulnerability and openness and and get the sense that it's okay. It's okay to have that vulnerability, and that's what helps you to fall in love with other people. And it's not necessarily that you're falling in love as lovers, although if it is a lover in your life, or a spouse, or whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, that's what would happen. But with other people, it would be just a deepening love of that person in a very real love kind of way, just an openness and a feeling of connection. And I thought this was really cool. Like I said, I haven't practiced it yet, because I've just learned about it, and radical honesty takes guts too, to be that open and honest with people. And but he also says that you can do this with people that are no longer in your life. For example, maybe they're thousands of miles away from you, or they're dead, or for some reason that you can't actually have a conversation with that person in person. And of course, this is something that you need to do in person, because you need to get the full body language of the other person, sit with them, feel their energy, and interact with them person to person. So this is a practice that I think would be very healthy for people to do, practicing this radical honesty with others. But in addition to that, I think you can also practice it on yourself, because what you might find is that you have some resentments about yourself. For example, you might resent yourself for certain decisions that you've made, or certain actions that you've taken. And now, looking at the resentment, thinking about, and sometimes we think of it as judgment or guilt, self-guilt or self-judgment, but it could actually be a resentment of yourself for having done something that you were not proud of, or that you are now angry at yourself about. And by going through that healing process of recognizing the resentment and saying to yourself, I resent myself, or I resent you, looking in the mirror, for whatever it is. And then just talking yourself through that, and talking about all the other resentments that are attached to it, and bringing that up, and then asking yourself if you can let those resentments go. Could you let them go? Would you let them go? And are you ready to let them go? So that's what I wanted to bring to you today. Again, Radical Honesty by Brad Blanton. If you're interested in finding out what he's all about, you can pick up his books on Amazon. And I don't get any money for telling you this from him or anybody else. I'm just mentioning it in case that might be of value to you. Take it easy. Bye.